reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.
16:20 Central African Time. Good afternoon to you and yours. Thank you so much for choosing us right here on the CCFM Drive. If you've just tuned in, I gave you a beautiful mixture there. I gave you the sounds of Chandler Moore with Ome Ma. I still want to find out what that actually means.
Yeah.
But
Can I just say something?
okay, you're gonna save me. Yes.
I don't know how to save you. I'm just saying you said it so differently. You said, "Oh, mama." It's the I don't know. It's the first time I've heard it said like that. Maybe it's the correct way.
She's judging
I
you.
thought it was "Oh, mama," but you know, it's okay. Maybe you've taught me something.
Potato, potato.
Tomato, tomato.
Marcus Stevens as well was in the mix there. With You Are Good. Absolutely love that one. Of course, those and also Tatima with The Call. All those three tracks taking us to 16:20. If you've just tuned in, warm welcome. You're at the right place. This is the CCFM Drive with Natasha and Romeo.
Of course, it is Tuesday. That means we have the lovely Tina Cupido joining us in studio, talking about those dinner conversations that we often avoid. But this is the platform, and it's done with so much grace and so much wisdom. But in this particular conversation, we are touching on breast cancer. This, of course, in light of it being Breast Cancer Awareness Month, as we alluded earlier on. Perhaps you know someone, perhaps you've got a story or a journey, a cancer journey that you'd like to share with us. We invite you, of course, to join in on the conversation. So delighted to have a special guest, Trudy Moses, who will be sharing her journey and encouraging you, hopefully, with her story and her encouragement, of course. 061 798 1075. That is our WhatsApp number.
I just had to check my time, and it's talk time with Tina right now. So
Listen.
why did you start off by saying good
Where do you
afternoon?
get the jokes? Lovely.
I don't know, it's funny. Yes. Good afternoon,
Scoring
Tina.
No, really.
How was your weekend, and how are you doing?
The weekend was interesting because we tried. Oh, what I tried.
I was like,
We
what you
tried
try?
to go on the train this weekend. Oh, epic. #epic fail. Because I knew, but I didn't know it was the Navy Festival, and we just wanted to go from Muizenberg to Pishuk.
Yeah.
No.
So what ended up happening? Did you guys go back home, or
No. We just went to the beach here in Muizenberg in the park. And my son, shame, he was very sad because it would have been his first train ride. And we tried twice, eh? We tried past 11 and then we tried past 2, and it was just chaos. But other than that, it was good. I'm good. Thank you, Romeo, for asking.
And this was the blue train, eh?
Oh, it's the fancy
This
one,
is
a
what I'm
nice
saying.
one, with security and all of them jazz. But I didn't make it.
I think maybe everyone had the same idea that you had, and they all took their family, and they just happened to be there before you.
Yeah.
I'm just sad that they couldn't experience it, but there's definitely next year. Not all hope is lost.
Or we could just go take another train to Fishhook.
I wanted to say, there's that option, Imagine waiting a whole year.
Yeah.
Oh,
No, brother. No.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, it's October. Oh man, Breast Cancer Awareness Month as well. It's a big one in South Africa as well. And this is going to be a very, very relevant conversation. A lot of people either know someone, have experienced it firsthand, secondhand, or even thirdhand. Everyone has a story to share about this, and we invite you as well to please share through yours. We are live as well on Facebook as well as on YouTube, so you can drop any questions and comments, and please make Trudy feel at home. Good afternoon to you as well.
Good afternoon, and good afternoon to the listeners.
How was your weekend and your week as well?
It was good.
Did you try the train?
No.
I just wanted to ask.
I saw Tina's status and I would said no thank
You're
you.
like, no, I'm good. Can I say on that train story? Though,
Yes.
So after seeing your status,
Yes.
I was also, I'm going to come back to you, Trudy. I was also encouraged to take the train, but this is me. Hi, sir. Sorry, do we still pay? Because it's the Navy Festival. And that was the first thing that put me off. And then the second thing, I'm going, well, if we miss the train, when's the next one coming? They say no, an hour. I'm like, no,
Yes.
it's fine. I will walk. It's okay. So I'm
To the
like,
Navy Festival.
No. To the beach, St. James Beach. So needless to say, Trudy, you and me, same WhatsApp group. Noit. But lovely to have you.
Thank you.
And so excited to, of course, get to hear, your story and your journey. Like Romeo said, we either know someone who's had cancer or we know a family member, but there's always someone who can share their story. And so, Trudy, just very briefly, who is Trudy? And just share your story with our listeners.
Okay, so the last time I was on the radio station was 2017, and it was a story of hope about me dealing with medical issues.
Yeah.
And fast forward to today, and it was another year of things. So I'm proudly 52 years old, and I'm a wife and a mom to two amazing young adults. I'm the music director at our church at St. Martin's in Berkeley, and I've been there since last year, June. Yeah.
Sure. She said proudly 52. I love it.
I know, I'm not scared to speak
Yes.
about my age because so many people are like, oh, I'm showing my age. I want to show my age. It's fine. There's wisdom here
I love that.
that I had to get with years
Yeah.
of living life.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
We're going to come back to that. Tina, maybe just a backstory as to why you chose to bring Trudy onto the program this afternoon.
Trudy was actually the first person that came to mind because
Sure.
I met Trudy, gosh, many years ago in the corporate world.
Yeah.
And so obviously you're friends on Facebook, and you think you know someone's life because you see their posters and their pictures, and then I happened to see your journey that you posted on Facebook, and I was like, if I'm gonna speak to somebody, I'm gonna speak to Trudy.
Yeah.
But I wasn't looking forward to this topic today. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, oh, what do I say? Because it's not a fun topic. It's not like, oh, it's just it's not something that you want to talk about necessarily. And then I was looking at some scriptures and I was like, what can I say? And then you have the Ecclesiastes 3 where they say there's a time for everything. There's a time to dance, there's a time to mourn, there's a time to smile, all of those things, right? You even read John 16 verse 33 where it says Jesus promises that in this world we will have struggles and we will have trials, but he has overcome the world. I was even reading Acts a while ago, Acts 12, and I remember we talk about Peter a lot in that chapter because Peter was rescued out of prison, right? But verses before that, James was beheaded. And I was like, they're both apostles, Lord. Why was James beheaded? And the other one gets a quiet story of being taken out of prison. And when things happen in our lives, difficult things, trials and struggles, a lot of us go to like, oh, what did I do, Lord? What have I done wrong? Why do I deserve this? Why don't you love me? It's a friend of mine, he always jokes, he's like, oh, there must be sin in the camp. That's all. So we have all of these things that run through our mind as to why these things happen. Now, I don't have an answer as to what your struggle is going to be, when it's going to come, what your trial is going to be. But the one thing I know is God says we are all going to have struggles. But he has overcome the world. And I know as we sit here, there are people that haven't made it to the other side.
Yeah.
So I want to acknowledge those people that are sitting with that loss and that heaviness within their family, their mom, their sister. They didn't make it through. I wish I had an answer for that. But the only thing I can say is that God's love never, ever leaves us. Romans 8 is very clear.
Yeah.
There's nothing that we can ever do that will ever separate us from his love. So you didn't do anything wrong. There isn't sin in your life. There is like all of these. I don't want to say it's part of life because it sounds so like a cop out, but it's hard and we all have different trials. I remember years ago when I had my miscarriage, you go through this flood of emotions and you have these questions, and I stayed at the emotion of anger for a very, very, very long time. And I was angry at God because I was like, dude, other people are having babies. Like, what's up? Why not me, right? And you have all of these questions. And I remember, what is her name? Kubler, I think it is. She got this 5 stages of grief. And only once so it's denial and all of that, but only once you get to the acceptance part. And I don't mean acceptance like, yay, this happened to me. Acceptance doesn't mean like, oh, this was easy.
Yeah.
Acceptance doesn't mean the long, hard journey that you've gone through. Acceptance just means, okay, this is my reality. What do we do now? Okay, Lord, this is where I'm at. I do not like it. I do not enjoy this trial.
Yeah.
But what is it that you and I can do together to get me through to the other side? So when I thought about this topic, I was like, Trudy, who's gone through the journey, going through the journey.
Yeah.
She can come and share encouragement with those who are currently going through that journey. Because this, I think you read the stat earlier on, and I was like, gosh, I don't know what it's like to sit in the doctor's office to be one of those millions of women who get the diagnosis of the dreaded C word. I can't imagine the fear or that feeling that must come over you. And then I know so many people that have come out on the other side. So today, it's not all doom and gloom, but we just want to paint a picture that there are things that we're going to go through.
Yeah.
God doesn't not love us. God doesn't leave us. He's with us in those storms, and we can overcome.
I love that. I love that. And I think, excuse me, one of the reasons I love this segment is because it is relatable, firstly, and everybody can sort of latch on to what our guests have to say, what you have to say, Tina. And so, as usual, please do join in on the conversation. We are live on Facebook as well as YouTube. Now, we're going to be talking about, Trudy's diagnosis, how she felt, maybe the journey even from detection to date, and also even the impact, that this diagnosis had, not just on her, but her family and those around her. And so, as we mentioned, please join in on the conversation, 061-798-1075. Before I give over to Romeo, Trudy, I just want to quickly talk about the detection. So, how you're feeling in that waiting room, even prior to the waiting room, because, there's the detection, and then there's going to the doctor, and then there's, the acceptance, as Tina has mentioned. Talk us through that journey.
Okay, so I spoke at a women's conference, and coming home, you need to really dress up snazzy because you speak the speaker and all that stuff. So I had on the guys and the men understand it's the step in, and it's the going out bra, and it's all that stuff.
It is tough. It's tough.
Because there's a bra that you use to go out with, and there's a bra that you.
I love it.
Yeah.
So I was dressed to the nines, came home, and I was sitting on the couch. I'd always do this, watch a movie after getting home. And our little fur baby, Jojo, decides to get under my arm and keep on lying on my chest. Pressing his nose against my chest. And I'm like, just, dude, leave me alone. I am tired. And then I thought, why am I feeling uncomfortable? And I was like moving around. Then I thought, maybe it's the going out bra.
Yeah.
Let's just loosen the going out bra. Then I felt something on the side of my breast, and I was like, wait, this don't feel so good. I called my husband over. I'm like, just come feel it. And he's like, okay, for those people that don't know, I'm smiling now. And he felt the side of my breast, and he said, something doesn't feel good here. Let's get this sorted. And I had a hospital appointment that week. Spoke to my doctor, who called another doctor, and that doctor called another doctor.
Oh, no.
And when they first look at you and they ask, do you have any breast cancer in your family? And I said, my maternal grandmother died from breast cancer.
Yeah.
And they're on the phone, and they said, we have an appointment for you for this Friday. You're going for mammogram, and this needs to be done quickly. So within 2 weeks, I went to the breast clinic. I had a mammogram. Because of meds I'm on, I couldn't have the biopsy done immediately. Had to wait a full week while I took meds in order for them to do the biopsy. Had it done, and they said 2 weeks. 4 days later, I got the phone call, can you please come in?
Wow.
So I received lots from God through dreams. And the week that I was waiting, I said, Lord, I can't wait 2 weeks. I'm your daughter. Please tell me what's happening. And I was hearing nothing. And then I had a dream the second night after I prayed. And I actually sent myself an email because I thought no one's going to believe me. But in the dream, Holy Spirit said, you have cancer and it's stage 2. And you need to prepare yourself. So I said nothing to no one till we went to the hospital. And the doctor called us in, and he said, you have breast cancer, stage 2. So I'm like to my husband, do you have any questions? He's like, why are you holding it together? I said, dude, I chunked this whole week because Holy Spirit already said it is. So it was, when you hear it, it's still kind of like, okay, they said it is. And only when we got into the bakkie and we were driving, he's paying for parking, and I'm, and the dude was just like, that's okay, you can go. Because clearly he was looking at me and wanting to get changed, but he was just like, it's fine. And I'm like, are you okay? We didn't have to pay for parking. And I just looked at him like, I mean, good guy, like, help me. But yeah, I think for me and as a family, we had the dips but we deal with it a lot with humor.
Yeah.
Because just not that we're denying,
Yeah.
but just our way of processing. And
Sure.
yeah,
Mm.
Yeah.
And granted, there are different ways that people obviously
Yeah.
process. I don't imagine that it's easy, but I love that you said you deal with it with humor. And sure, we've got a lot of messages coming through. There's so much to get into. I know we're going to touch on exactly what you've mentioned, sort of how your family dealt with it, how it affected them.
yes.
0617981075. Thank you so much to everyone commenting on Facebook. Common, Hamildine, Nikki Kemp. We see you, Kennethia. We see you. There's a voice coming through as well from Maureen, as well as Shanti. As usual, please indicate if your voice note is, of course, related to our conversation so that we can play it.
Trudy, you touched on it slightly, emotionally, the beginning stages of it, as well as how it affected your husband. Can you take us through the family and as well as you emotionally, as it's sitting in from leaving
Yeah.
the hospital, now you arriving home, having to, go through this? What are the emotions that are going through? How are you feeling? How's the family? How's it affecting everyone around you?
I think for me, the big thing was remembering my gran. I don't want to get emotional. Um, because when she was diagnosed, you know how the old people back in the day were, there was a problem, but they wouldn't deal with it, and thinking that sweeping it under the rug is just going to make it go away. So when she did find out that she had cancer, that it spread, and closer, when I'm talking about many months ago, in order for her to be alive to see her eldest granddaughter getting married. So for me, it was taking me back to those thoughts and seeing her in a bed and dying, and at the same time saying, Lord, I've been through so much medically. Like, what now? And my friend Liesel went through it, and watching from the sidelines through her whole journey um, made me, when I was diagnosed, kind of have the determination of, yeah, I'm feeling this way now. But as a worshiper, as a musician, and as a worshiper, I'm going to praise myself through this. And then having the news and having to wait for the kids to come home in order to, it's important to me that Theo and Tanika and Tegan first know what's going on. Them coming home, and the response was no tears. And I was like, are you guys not going to say anything? Yeah, but you're going to be okay. And my son was like, God's with you, so what's the... And I'm like, but I'm emotional here. And they're like, yeah, it's okay. We're going to be here for you. And for me, it was like a thing of, okay, firstly, they're grown up now. So, and I'm like, but you're going to process this, eh? Just remember, I'm going to be going through, and we're going to be here. My husband has always been supportive in everything that I do. So for him, it was just like, okay, let's do this. And I think for a man also, he also joked about when I made the decision around the vasectomy and stuff, just being real about my wife is going to have a vasectomy, like sort of and also joking around it, but at the same time seeing and acknowledging the seriousness of what we needed to do. And he was like, we're here for you. We're praying. Do you want to say anything? I went through a stage of a month after getting the diagnosis of saying to people, this is what's happened. Give us space. As a family, we're processing this. And at the same time, having people saying, you shouldn't do this and you should do that and eat this and don't do chemo. And I'm just like, we're praying. We're processing. And as a family, we're going to decide what to do.
And that's so common here. Because people generally have good intentions. But it's important to put those boundaries in place. Especially as you deal with it as a family. You mentioned something so powerful when you mentioned that Liesel, I know her same. So would you then say it's very important to have support?
Yes.
Especially for people who have gone through that journey. How important is that?
Support, yes, but also support from the people that not only got through it, but got through it with God's help and are positive around the choices you make. I know people that were diagnosed with cancer that said, don't want to do chemo, I've decided this, I've decided that. That's your choice. But also having the support in that you're saying, in whatever you decide you want to do, we are there for you. And and having that prayer support of saying, if you want to cry, then cry.
Mm.
And for me, it was difficult because I'm always strong. You mentor ladies, you were leader. You were leader with so many different sort of like with the worship teams that I work with, and now I'm not strong.
Mm.
Um, and a lot of times you need to reach out to the strong woman
Yeah.
because people were like, "We're not gonna call, we're not gonna visit because you're fine."
Sure.
But there were so many
Sure.
times that I was not, and I was
Sure.
like, "Lord, why is nobody reaching out?"
Oh.
And at the same time, there's other people that were reaching out constantly, but
Mm.
having to process that is a lot, especially post mastectomy
Mm.
when the stage change
Yeah.
for me was huge.
Sure. Thank you for your vulnerability. I just want to acknowledge that very quickly. And I want to quickly go to some voice notes before we talk about, the positive side of it, your encouragement to anyone in this journey. Maureen has sent a voice note. Hi, Maureen.
Afternoon, Radio CCFM and listeners. I want to say to the guests in the studio, it is quite safe. The Simonstown train lane, the train quite safe. Do make a turn there. It's quite safe. Just an encouragement to the people, and I am an ex breast cancer who was suffering and who went through the whole procedure, chemotherapy, lost your hair, everything. But by the grace of God, I've made it through. I had my journey during the year of 2014. I had my full circle of 5 years with the tamoxifen tablets. Terrible, but it brought healing. But above all, I first went and had myself anointed with oil. And afterwards, I went for the mastectomy on my right hand side. I had the full cycle of 5 years with the tamoxifen, the chemotherapy, where you lose your hair, everything, body hair, everything, the whole cycle. But I want to say this afternoon, the scripture says in Psalm 23, verse 4, even when I walk through the darkest valley, I will not be afraid, for you are close beside me. Your rod and your staff protect and comfort me. And I want to say, I went through this whole ordeal with Psalm 23, verse 4, that He is with me, beside me, and He is the person who comforted me. And up until today, I thank God for who He is. He is the I am, making your I am, and you will see the hand of God move in your situation. And I thank you.
Hi, Trudy Chantal. And yes, I followed Trudy's testimony from, like she says, 2017, I think. And she is an awesome motivation, inspiration, and just an all round beautiful person. Love you.
Hi everybody, it's Tina here. So in 2017, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. It was DCIS, which means it's caught in the milk ducts. Did a lumpectomy, and that was that. I just carried on with my life. Never thought anything of it. I wasn't offered radiation or chemo at the time. And this year, it came back, and I had a mastectomy about a month ago. And I just want to say thank you to the Lord, because it was a non-invasive cancer, and I still don't need chemo. I still don't need radiation. So I'm currently on hormone tablets, and I know there are a lot of us out there who are struggling. But I have come to realize that all of the prayers that we've been praying throughout the time, even before this, for our families, our friends, God to intervene and take control of whatever things we're going through in our lives. All of these carries us through, and we must just continue with this, that we trust Him and believe that He will come through for us. And I am just so grateful that He has come through for me. And I can testify to the fact that there are so many of us, as you're saying on the radio, that hasn't made it. And just a word of encouragement to the ladies. Early detection, early cure. That is the rule of law. Unfortunately, some of us wait too long, and then, that's the problem. But I'm just so grateful. Thank you to all of you, and have a blessed day. Lots of love, Tina.
We've heard some of these voice notes coming through. Thank you so much for sending them through. Trudy, how does this make you feel?
A lot of what people are saying resonates a lot. The one lady mentioned scripture that carried her, and I think we all need to have the scripture in our arsenal when dealing not only with life but with situations like this. And for me, it was Psalm 118. I shall live and not die and declare the glory of your works, proclaim the wonders of your works. And there were ladies that were on the journey with me that didn't make it. And I said to my daughter once, they got the healing. They're not with us, but they got the healing in passing. And also, one of them, the last message, and I spoke about early detection. That hits home because I started menopause early. You kind of tell yourself, I'm going to check, do the check. And it's something that goes around every October, around doing the checks. And for menopausal ladies, normally it's like a certain period that you need to do it for after your monthly period. And for people that are going through menopause or have gone through menopause, that doesn't happen anymore. And I used to set a date, do a check. And for some reason, I hadn't checked for about 3-4 months. And in that time, I felt what I felt. And so it's so important that it's not something that we attend the cancer teas and we buy the cupcakes and all that stuff, but
wear the pink.
Wear the pink and attend all the things at whatever women's conferences and church meetings and stuff. And the lady up front from the cancer shows you what to check for when you carry on doing your thing. Without actually taking in and applying it. In doing those checks, because you're always thinking, it's auntie so and so. Even the younger people, they think it happens to older people only. And I saw some very young ladies coming for chemo that are like sitting there, and a lot of them are like asking each other, is this going to affect me having babies one day? And questions like that, and it just hits home more and more and more. So even on that journey with going for chemo, I walk it out with my little bowl and say, do you need prayer? But for me, it was a big thing in that they said yes, or they listened to me, because I was also going through what they were going through. And the one nurse used to laugh at me because they said after the third session, they started understanding me because I put my worship on. Because some ladies react to the chemo, so they sort of start shaking and stuff, and they tell the nurse, that lady over there, she listens to praise and worship. So if her legs start shaking, she dancing. She dancing. So for me, it was important to have the worship going to just carry me through. Focusing on God always.
And just emphasizing also, if you don't know, ask. Especially to the younger generation. Ask. There's no harm in asking. Sure. Beautiful conversations, and a lot more messages coming through. Many more messages coming through. On the WhatsApp line as well as on Facebook and YouTube. The beauty about the recording is that you can always go back to watch it if you've missed it or you've just caught little gems of the conversation. Just one more message and then we're going to wrap up with just your encouragement to our listeners. This one says, good afternoon, CCFM. I was diagnosed at 2022 at the age of 35 with ductal carcinoma, breast cancer in the milk glands. I had no signs and I couldn't feel the lumps. went through the procedure, chemotherapy, and radiation, but God had kept me through my journey. It was not easy, but God kept my hand through it all. Thank you for sharing to the number ending in 3376. And then, of course, thank you to Janine Liederman as well, to Nikki Kemp on Facebook, as well as Bruce. I think he sent through a voice note. Just in closing, Trudy, for someone who's sitting there who's just received the news, maybe someone who is a daughter or a son to mom who's just received the news, maybe to a colleague who's going, I don't know what to say, how to comfort this person. Can I ask questions? What is the most practical advice, but also encouragement to that listener right now?
I think the most important thing is give the person the space and go on their cues on when they're ready to speak about certain stuff. For me, it was a big thing when I thought I didn't have to do chemo after the mastectomy, and it changed to stage 3C because of lymph nodes having to be removed. For me, it was a huge thing in sort of acknowledging, wait, I need to do chemo, and then being told I need to do radiation. So as you go through the process, and also when you receive the diagnosis, follow the cues of the person. That's important. And from a spiritual aspect, know that you're not alone at all. I mean, for me, I saw a picture of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and it's like you're in the fire, but the fourth man in the fire is there. You're not alone. And in the worst times for me was radiation. It made me so tired. I think the big thing I want to just encourage people with is that they not diminish their journey, their cancer journey. Some people have lumpectomy, some don't need radiation, some don't need chemo. Don't think that your journey and your diagnosis or what is done and what isn't done makes it less of an important issue or impact in your life. It's a big thing, no matter what it is you're going through. It's huge. And people kind of diminish things that, I just had a lumpectomy. It's not just a lumpectomy. It was usually diagnosed with cancer. So whether people are going through the whole katutis or whether it's just something that needs to be done once off, it's a huge thing. And be there for them. For me, the important thing is learning to ask for help. And I want to encourage people that are going through this. Have the space to give the person their space, but at the same time say, look, we're here. And not ask, what can we do? Be practical. Make those meals, send those vouchers, Uber Eat vouchers at all. Uber rides is a big thing for me because with radiation, you have to go every day. It's a huge thing. Just be practical in what you're doing. And if they say no to a coffee date, don't leave it there. It's just a no for the one time. Just ask again when they're all ready.
I'd love for you to close off with that verse that you mentioned, that's Psalms 1. I think it was 108 or 180.
180.
180. Can you please just say it again for a listener who's listening right now, who wants to carry it in their back pocket?
Psalm 118, and it's verse 17. And it says, I shall live and not die and declare the glory of his works.
Yeah, beautiful conversations right here. You are a phenomenal woman, Trudy Moses, and thank you for your grit. Thank you for your grace. Thank you for your vulnerability today, for sharing your story with us, and such practical advice as well. Incredibly practical. And then also, if anyone wants to book you, perhaps as a speaker at an event or a cancer event, where can they find you?
I have a Facebook page, not only my personal one, but Trudy Moses Ministries. For the ministry page, and my personal one is Trudy L. Moses, and it's Trudy with a Y. I'm an English Trudy.
I love it. Thank you so much. Thank you, Trudy with a Y. Thank you, Tina Cupido. And of course, thank you, listener, for sharing your stories. Tina, I think, also shared her story, as well as Maureen. Thank you to Bruce and all the other messages that are coming through. We will continue with the rest of the messages in a bit. As we've mentioned, this conversation is available on our Facebook and our YouTube pages. Reshare, repost, send it to people that you think need to hear this encouragement from Trudy. On the way, Dr. Dumi with the fourth man, and of course, this takes us to the news at 5.